The first time I was impressed with Dad Mack is when I went to his office.
At times he was almost like a mad scientist.
Did not realize until I looked on the wall all the different patents and how much he really had contributed.
He was truly the epitome of the nutty professor.
I was born October 13th, 1936. I was born in a small apartment that was over a candy store that my grandma and grandpa owned. Of course, when you're very young, you don't know that you don't have any money or anything. Everybody in the neighborhood didn't have any money. So we were poor. It was made worse when my dad had a few strokes. He really couldn't get a job where there was a lot of strenuous activity. I had two toys. I had a little plastic fire engine and a bag of marbles. But in a way, I think it was good because those marbles could be anything I wanted them to be. Being poor has its advantages because you get to be a little creative. After the first year of high school or so, I was sure I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. I think my mom contributed most. I mean, you know, I never realized it until later in life, how important she was to my life growing up and to what I eventually turned out to be. But she was insistent that I get a good education. So I had to go to the University of Illinois in Chicago because we couldn't afford anything else. I've never been a good student. I mean, I was happy to get a B.
He was a real smart guy, real intelligent.
I was told that I was lazy. And the teacher that told me that said, but that's a good thing because lazy guys make the best engineers. They're always looking for an easier way to do something. So that was me.
Dad Mack is very meticulous. He does like things done a certain way. Not that it's necessarily the most difficult way, but he does like to keep his things in order. I think that's part of him being just an intelligent person.
So that was only a 2-year school. So I did the first 2 years. I got married before I was 21. My mom, once again, had saved up enough money to move us out of that little apartment on Archer Avenue, and she bought a house no more than about 50 yards away. That's where Shirley and I lived. But after my mom passed, I got to thinking about how she raised me. And even though we didn't have a lot, she gave me the little she had, you know, and so it turned me down that particular path. I didn't know anything about the Kendall Company, but I went there, interviewed, and they gave me this job as a technician in the laboratory. That influences everything I've done since that time. It was a big company with 3 divisions. They hired me in the tape division. I didn't know anything about tape. I had to learn. And I had to cut that sheet of rubber up into small little squares, like something a monkey could do, you know. Time went on, I learned a little bit more about adhesives and started developing my own formulations and spending a lot more time on the mechanical aspects, and I modified these machines to make them work better. The head of the medical products division offered me a job, making 30% more than I was in the other division. That's what got me really interested because I was working with medical products, and I got to do a lot of inventing.
He was, you know, he'd be mixing things and doing different types of experiments.
Your Band-Aids, all they were was a piece of plastic. Well, there were a lot of things wrong. I developed a process now to punch holes, hundreds of holes, without weakening the film, and again, forming little circles of plastic around each hole to keep the strength.
He used to come home, and whenever he used to take his shirt off to take a shower at the end of the day, he had bandages all over his body, and he would actually shower with the bandages because he was testing his invention of breathing and adhesiveness.
It was a real breakthrough. So it was one of the first achievements that I felt was really worthwhile because it made a product that really people could use more effectively. The Kendall Company hospital product for large wounds was called a Telfa pad, and this product was called self-adhesive Telfa. Originally they were just gauze pads, woven gauze. When you pull it off, it'd disrupt the wound again. I came up with the idea of, instead of using tape, can we put that wound dressing on so it would have its own tape built in? I wanted to actually coat the entire wound contact surface with an adhesive. It was a challenging idea. We didn't know it would work, but it did. Kendall was started by John P. Kendall, the guy who started the whole shebang. He died, so the only resolution was we're going to sell the company. And that's where Colgate entered the picture. So they bought Kendall, and shortly after that, they came with a proposal to me, since I knew a lot about disposable diapers. Just coincidentally, I was in the design of the disposable diaper for the Kendall Company. They asked me if I would like to set up a absorbent products research group in Europe. So I knew nothing. I said, why not give it a try, you know? It was scary to move to a foreign country. When I moved over there, there was no research laboratory. They were just constructing it. It was mud and bricks every place. It was an exciting and challenging time in my career.
Took the plant from ground zero all the way up until the factory was actually fully in production.
We became the most prolific group of inventors in Colgate. I mean, we were always applying for patents left and right. We wound up with the best disposable diaper in the world. Colgate, in general, all their research, they did all their testing in the laboratory. I was the first one who said, look, the only way you're really going to learn about whether any product performs well is to take it out and have people use it. And they laughed when I decided to collect used disposable diapers. We would take them and open them up, see how saturated they were, see how much urine was in there. We would do all kinds of stuff like that. Nutty things. That was new for Europe and the rest of the world. So it was really a change in attitude of how to evaluate and test different products for Colgate. So I'm kind of proud of that too.
You know, one thing you knew about Dad was he always was in thought. He always was coming up with new ideas and things like that. I think his work kind of nurtured him in that ability.
In Europe, you're the boss, you get credit for everything. You get the patent, you get the honor, the guy who does the work gets nothing. So in a way, I think the people who worked for me appreciated that, the fact that they were able to get patents themselves. When I made the decision to come back to the United States, several of the guys came into my office and they were crying to see me go because they really loved working for me that much. Stupid, isn't it?
He's a true entrepreneur and a true scientist and inventor, where he actually took those and he actually made them become reality, which it really kind of showed in his work and his success.
So if you can find something you really love to do, that's the important thing, because no matter what, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, your work life will be terrible.